You thought you were done seeing me tonight, didn't you? I thought I was done talking to you tonight, too. Not that I don't like talking to you. I am not on TikTok. And a lot of good things do come out of that. Um, no, not, no. um, but I see people on YouTube that, will show clips. And some of them, some of them need to be heard. So, I'm going to ask you to listen again.
Oh, well, my tax dollars shouldn't go to bullshit like that. Okay, well, let me explain this potential scenario to you right quick. A 17-year-old kid decides he wants to smoke a little weed after the game on Friday night to celebrate. Now, obviously, he can't buy it legally, but he knows a guy who still slings a little bit on the side, so he gets it from him instead. He's bought from this guy before, so he doesn't think anything of it, but this time, the weed that kid bought from that dude was laced with fentanyl. So he shows up to the party way out in BFE that his buddies have, he smokes, and then he starts showing signs of overdose and ultimately becomes unresponsive. His friends don't know what the fuck to do, but they're smart enough to dial 911, so the ambulance comes and they figure out that he's OD. Now, normally, they would give the kid Narcan, which can reverse the effects of overdose in less than 5 minutes. But Uncle Sam just cut a $56 million program that provides Narcan to first responders, so this time, they ain't got it. Now, they got some at the ER, but like I said, this is a small town in a really rural area, and the party that this kid is at is 20 minutes away from the hospital, so they load him up, but he dies halfway there. The kid was 17 years old and had his entire life in front of him. Did he make...
This happens more often than you think, that they get fentanyl when they're thinking it's just weed. People think that, oh, well, they were doing this or that, and that's just as bad. No, a lot of times it's mixed in with weed. Same thing when I was a teenager. The big thing about angel dust, PCP. That shit was stuck in weed, sprinkled in joints and shit. And it wasn't just, oh, well, if they're doing coke or if they're doing that, well, it's not always that. And especially in this day and age, when weed is legal in half the states, it's first of all, if you made it legal in all states, you'd get some and sell it as a government. You could make sure it's safe. You can make sure it's high quality. You can make sure shit isn't put in it. And if some of these are state or government run type of ones, you're getting income. I don't understand it. And that's one of the reasons why hemp is not used. Because it's used the different parts. So you can get hemp out of the stalk and stuff like that, but you smoke the leaves. There's two different incomes from one product. And much like bamboo, hemp is also sustainable year after year. They don't suck so many, like a lot of crops will suck a particular thing out of the soil, mineral or whatever. And so you can't plant the same crop sometimes year after year in the same field. You have to alternate it, plant like alfalfa or something, so it regenerates the soil balance. Okay? These things can be grown in the same place consistently. And it would take the place of wood. Right now he's destroying half our national parks. I don't need anything from Canada. Yeah, we did. We needed the wood. And as soon as he does that and chases all the animals off, then once it's cleared, we're just going to drill or mine.
About bad decision? Sure. But who the fuck hasn't at 17? And did he deserve to lose his fucking life over it? I think we all can agree. Absolutely the fuck not. This is why this shit matters, okay? Shit like this affects every state, every city, every community, which is why it's nuttier than squirrel shit to me that we all can't be on the same fucking team about shit like this. And the worst fucking part is the fact that I know when I post this fucking video, somebody's gonna get in the fucking comment section of this and be like, oh, well, my tax dollars shouldn't have to pay for worthless addicts. Now, oftentimes, those people are...
And you know what? To those people that say, oh, my tax dollars should have to go for this, or for Planned Parenthood for abortions, which is not, that's the smallest thing that Planned Parenthood actually provides. A lot of those people, they're taking advantage or making use of something from the government, loophole, you know, whatever it is. And we have to pay for that, and it's not benefiting me. Let's say they have a business and there's some sort of break they're getting. Well, my tax dollars shouldn't have to pay for that kind of program because I don't own a business. It's the same sort of ignoramus, selfish responses. Let's continue. This dude.
The same ones that turn right around and say some dumb shit like, I'm pro-life. No, the fuck you ain't. You're pro-life till that motherfucker comes out of the womb, and then when it needs one of your fucking tax dollars, you fucking lose your shit. What if it was your brother? What if it was your father who was just trying to ease the pain in his fucking back because he's been working at the plant his whole entire fucking life, and buying them from the fucking dude on the street was cheaper than paying his fucking copay that the company offers with health insurance? Bet you'd be thanking your lucky fucking stars that's where your tax dollars were being spent then, huh? God dang, man. People get in my comments all the fucking time and they'll say shit like, oh, I'm so surprised you have the views you have. You look so country. Like, what? Duh, because being country used to mean helping your fucking neighbor. It means spending your fucking money at your friend's dad's tire shop instead of going to fucking Walmart. It means paying for your buddy's meal even though you didn't have much for yourself anyways, because we all fucking eat around here. Being country to me means having compassion for your fellow human fucking beings. And I am so sorry that some of y'all's personal experiences haven't quite lived up to that. But if they won't, I'll stand in the fucking gap with you. And
Then he just finishes up. That dude. Brian Andrews Music from TikTok. He's spot on. Like I said, the people that bitch about a particular program that they don't need use of, or their family hasn't made use of, they're probably using something of a program or a loophole or whatever that those other people don't get. And they're paying for that. So why the fuck can't you pay for some shit for other people? You know, people have this misconception that, oh, well, you overdosed on fentanyl and shouldn't have been taking any of it. A lot of times the people don't even realize that there's fentanyl. They're not buying fentanyl. They're buying something else, but it was put in there. Well, why would the people do that? So, because it's probably, it's a cheaper thing, whatever, more easily available. Whatever reason they do it, they do it. And he's correct. These days, with, the things aren't being covered, pain. I use CBD wax for medicinal purposes. Fact. Before it was recreational, when it was medical here in Jersey, I talked to my doctor because I was on a Schedule 1 for pain medication, oxycodone. Not Contin, oxycodone. I was having constipation, then diarrhea. It was just ridiculous. It F's with your, for years, it F's with your system. It causes, like a lot of heavier medications, they'll cause, like, people that have to take this for something, but it causes other issues. So you have to take something else to balance that out. And it gets to be like, what the F? THC is the part that gets you high. CBD is the part that's more, it affects not the mental, it affects the actual body and the nerve, that type of thing, the pain receptors and all that. And so with CBD wax, you don't really get a high unless you smoke a few more hits of it type of thing, unless you take a few more dabs. But usually, once, I take 2 or 3 over the course of 20 minutes. Let's see how much I need today to tamp that down. And then I take tramadol. That is not a heavy effect, super heavy duty. It's below what I was taking. But I had talked to my doctor even before it was recreational here. And I asked him, I told him, I said, how would you, now my guy, I met him, I had him as my doctor before he was even dating the woman he's now married to with 2 or maybe 3 kids. So I've been with him a while. He's a young guy. And I asked him, how do you feel about this? And he says, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Because his attitude was, you're using something that's pretty natural, and it's natural form one way or another. It's not like it's doing all these processed and, chemical, it's not like medications. And he says, if you want to go to a lesser pain thing and add it with that, I'm good with that. He was like, absolutely, I'm good for that, So he was on board. So now that it's become even legal for recreational use, he's a happy clam, because he knows his patient, me, is not dealing with half a dozen other issues that medication caused. And the other thing is, when you have all these different side effects from one medication, sometimes if something's going, and you're taking other medications to mask, sometimes something's going wrong and you don't know, because you're on all these medications to balance out what this one did and then to balance out what that one did. It's like, oh my God, my doctor is of the mind of, yeah, if we can use less crap and more natural. And he's not a holistic or anything like that, but he's like, yeah, if that's what's going to make it easier for my patient, I'm good with that. I know it works. That's why I love my doctor. I have moved further away from him for like 8 years. I was further away. There was another clinic closer, but I refused to switch my primary care doctor because of those reasons. Because he fucking pays attention, and he's not I'm the doctor, I know what's happening. He understands that, yeah, but I'm like 40 years older than you, dude. 30 years older. And he understands that I am aware of when something is wrong in me. Even before doctors have, because I had one time, I kept saying I know that feeling. There's a sinus infection. I can taste it. I can taste the infection when it's a chest or sinus infection. And he says, I don't see anything. And he did a thing, and yeah, the next day he goes, yeah, you got an infection. He called it an antibiotic, but yeah. So he understands that I know if I'm saying something's wrong, even if he can't find something, he'll be like, if it keeps let me know, because he knows he's not he's not some of those doctors, you can't tell them anything. They don't want to hear what you think. I can't deal with that. And I could not deal with pediatricians for my children if they weren't going to listen to me and they don't actually talk to my child. There's a lot of doctors with young kids that just ask the parent all the things. How about asking them first and then see if mom and dad needs to, give further information. Yeah, so, not having Narcan to first responders. I imagine there are a lot of very, very angry EMT people and physicians that are not happy about that. Um, because most of these people that wind up with fentanyl overdoses, they weren't trying to take fentanyl. They that wasn't even what they were looking at, what they were doing. And just to rip that away, like he said, 17. And who hasn't? You do know that human brains don't like finish developing. I mean, fully. Where like the reasoning and all that stuff till you're like 22, 23, 24, something like that, 25. That's a fact. So some of those emotional things you're not getting the full picture because your brain's not fully there yet. So you make poor decisions sometimes. Sometimes I mean, come on, everybody has made a fuck up mistake, and later you're like, oh god, that could have gone real wrong. Well, some people it does go real wrong when that wasn't their intent. And they weren't being risk takers. I mean, you're fucking buying some weed, you know? It's not taking a risk. So, yeah, yeah. Why are my tax dollars? They say that about everything, and like I said, more likely than not, they're making use of or we're making use of something that we weren't making use of. How come we have to pay our tax? It equals out, people. It equals out. But, some people just have to fucking count. Everything has to be even. I did a favor, so now you owe me a favor. I mean, oh my god, that's called transactional. You don't do anything unless you got something in it for you. That is the opposite of altruism. If you don't know what altruistic or altruism is, find yourself a book called a dictionary. altruism. Altruism. Read what that means. It's what Jesus taught. It's what all the prophets of the different religions taught. Go read it and then tell me I'm wrong. And then they complain that there's not enough children to take, that we have a nation of older people. Well, maybe if you stop taking things that save their lives, and maybe if you regulated guns so they didn't get shot in school, maybe we would have people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s now, instead of a younger generation under 30, under 40, and people over 60. It's because you let them die! That's why! All these things, you've been letting them fucking die! And now you go, where are all the people that should be in this age range? Dead! Because of your gun laws! Does that answer your question? Sorry. I'm okay. It's just sometimes the fury and the anger of how people are being treated and have been. I refuse to stay modulated because too many people have become that way. And nobody knows when you're serious, when you're upset, when you're not, because nobody expresses anymore. Everybody's these plasticine people that don't express emotions. Have a good Friday.